Hello, everyone. In today's episode, I had a great conversation with Emily, and we spoke on a bunch of topics. A few that we detailed are the dangers of the birth control pill, working through limiting beliefs, building your personal business online, and finding what naturally lights you up. I'm sure you'll find value in this episode. And if you do, drop me a rating or a review. I would greatly appreciate it. And just for the sake of getting the podcast out there, getting the algorithms to spread the podcast naturally, I appreciate you.
When we want to do something or hang out together, the first idea that will come to mind will be, oh, let's go and grab a coffee. Let's go to a restaurant or something. It will never be why, like, let's go on a hike. And that was something fun about COVID, is that everyone learned to actually go on walks because we didn't have anything else to do. Um, so yeah, I guess it's just because I think it will be different for every country in Europe, because I know some people from Spain, they are much more active than we are because they live nearby the sea, so they can go surfing and stuff. Not all of them, but most of them. And I feel like because we are in Belgium and it's kind of in the middle of no, like we don't really have a lot of nature around. I think that's the main.
So, is Belgium sort of like New York? It's just in the middle of everything.
Um, yeah, it's actually the capital of Europe. So it's kind of in the middle of everything. We do have a small seaside, but yeah, it's not New York because we don't have like big buildings and stuff. But we do have a lot. Like every time there is a meeting with all the European parliaments, it's happening in Europe, in Belgium, in Brussels. So I feel like business wise there are things going on, but the country is so small that you can't really scale anything here, so most people go either to Holland or to France. So yeah, it's kind of like I don't really know what we are in the middle of everything and nothing at the same time.
Yeah, it's a bit different, but some similarities. So when you mentioned during COVID, you guys were hiking much more. Do you enjoy hikes? Were you noticing that it had a positive benefit on your mood? And if so, how come you guys didn't continue to do that? Was it just because life got busy again?
I personally love nature, and I lived, I don't know if I can say live, but I lived in South Africa for 3 months. And that's where I discovered the power of being outside and hiking and going on the like cold water and stuff. And so I always wanted to implement that in Belgium. And that's also part of the reason why I wanted to leave so bad before COVID. I wanted to leave Belgium because I was like, nobody here has the mentality that I have. So I'm still implementing all of that. So I'm climbing, I'm doing indoor climbing. I'm walking every day. My mom has a dog, and I walk the dog as soon as possible. I do have a full-time job now, but I want to have that. I'm also working online, so I can at some point live from wherever I want. So yeah, that's definitely something I love. But most of my friends, they don't really. It's not something that they really value. I mean, I think they do, but I feel like people get into their habit pretty quickly. So once COVID was over, old patterns came back pretty quickly, and it was the same old again. Let's grab a coffee. Let's go to the restaurant.
Yeah, it's funny how if it's not a priority, it just won't happen. I love the saying, when people say they don't have time, it's just another way of saying that's not the most important thing to me, because
Yeah,
we all have the same 24 hours in a day. It's just, how do you really want to invest your time? And I I make sure that I get outside and go on walks consistently just because the effect it has on my mood.
same.
And like I messaged you, when you feel good, then you can do more things.
Mhm.
And That's important for both of us because when we're trying to create online and spark that natural passion,
Mhm.
we have to feel good. If I don't really go to the gym, it's so much harder for me to speak my message that I'm aiming to share with people.
And quick question: are you like working in the as a like personal trainer, or is it your job, or is it something that you do on the side?
What I'm trying to build, and it's just came to me quite recently, is a coaching business.
Yeah.
So that in that coaching business is on the mindset, on physical health and nutrition. But that brings me back to how you mentioned, even though not everyone may love exercise in Belgium, 80% of how you look is your nutrition and what you're eating.
Mhm.
It's the gym is helpful, exercise is important, but it really, if you're eating McDonald's and processed foods and seed oils all the time, things that slow your metabolism, it's no coincidence that you're going to keep on extra weight.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, what I'm doing is I have a lot of things going on because I'm in that building process. It doesn't happen quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's terrible because we always feel like it's, I don't know about you, but like I felt like it was gonna happen so quick when I decided that I wanted to build something online 2 years ago. I was like, I was telling to my friends, in 6 months, you see, I'll be successful online. And then you actually see that the reality is pretty different, which is amazing because it's a journey. Um, as you say, I feel like there is a learning phase when you are building something online. It's like a degree in some, like in some degree. I mean, like you are learning how things work and what you have to do. You learn to market yourself. What do you want to do really? What do you want to bring to the world? And it's also super difficult to, I don't know, I struggled with knowing what I wanted to do online because I saw other people doing stuff that were successful. And for a long time, I believed that I had to do the same thing as they were doing to succeed online. And I feel like this is the wrong way to go. You have to really find what who you are. I mean, what you enjoy doing, and the journey will be so much easier. But yeah, so it's definitely a process.
So, how did you figure out specifically what you were passionate about and the message that you were looking to share?
Honestly, I'm still figuring things out. I've studied marketing, so this is what I know. It's something that I can use as a tool. But I knew very early on that it wasn't what I wanted to do, and I didn't want it to be known as a marketer. And I've always been super into health and mental health because when you launch any kind of project, you have to overcome obstacles, and that leads you often on a path of, mental health as well. What can I do to improve myself, and what is blocking me? I had so many roadblocks, and overcoming that is also a process. So yeah, I knew that I was good at marketing. I worked there for a while. I worked as a marketer for yeah, I've been working in that field for the past 5 years. And for 2 years ago, I decided that I was going to launch my business because I was good at marketing. I was like, I'm just going to do something in marketing. And it didn't feel quite right. I struggled to prospect just because I wasn't convinced in what I was offering. I struggled to close clients. I struggled to market myself because I didn't want to talk about marketing because I wasn't passionate about that. So after 2 years, I finally realized that I needed to find what was lighting me up. So I'm actually in that phase at the moment. I'm exploring a bunch of topics. That's why I'm using Twitter. It has opened up so many opportunities. I've I want I love writing online. So at some point, I really believe that I wanted to write online for other people. But once you do it, you realize that maybe that's not quite it yet, because like I love creating for myself and I feel like it's a piece of art, but then do I really want to do that for other people? Maybe I've seen someone successful doing that. So I believed again that this is what I had to do. Um, So now I'm just allowing myself to explore topics that I am enjoying, and that's related to health, mental health. And I'm sure this will lead to something. I already have a few ideas. But yeah, so I'm currently also in a learning phase again, using the tools that I've accumulated, because like my marketing experience isn't wasted. It's something that I will be able to use in all of my ideas that I will want to explore further.
It's beautiful how we're never going to reach that finish line of the
Yeah.
journey, because it has to be that constant adaptation of your process. And
Mhm.
something you mentioned that was just so important for me in my progression is just trying things and being open. That's why Twitter's helped me a lot too, and podcast and the whole internet in general. When you get into a area that you're consuming healthy information rather than disempowering information, but things that jog your mind and get your creativity going, that's like a necessity for us to continue to create. I don't just come up with ideas. I see something and I'm like, oh, wow, that I like that. And then I write it down,
Mhm.
and then I think about it and recreate it in my own personal way. And that being open to whatever comes your way and kind of trusting the journey, not needing your wants and your goals to be accomplished immediately, but understanding that having the long-term vision is so important. And you mentioned the mental health. When you dive into creating something, you realize how important mental health is.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what happened to me when I began this entrepreneurial journey. I didn't know anything about the mindset, the state of mind. And now it's one of my pillars, because oh man, have there been many hills and valleys during the process. But then you come to realize, well, this is really all in my control, how I perceive things. And if I'm going to focus on the right positive images, or am I telling myself why I will fail? It's like, are you asking empowering questions, or are you asking yourself questions like, why won't this business work? Well, your brain will come up with answers for that
Yeah,
question.
that's so crazy.
It really is. So what area are you specifically focusing on or feeling naturally pulled to right now? Is it writing for yourself, or yeah, what do you think about that?
So I love the idea of writing for myself, just because I don't know if you have that feeling too, but every time I write something, it's not an easy process for me. But I feel like it is a piece of art when once I finished the writing process, which is amazing. So that's something I really enjoy. Um, and I want to use that as a tool again to document my process and document just what I'm doing and what I'm learning. And what I'm drawn to is especially women's health and our place in society, or maybe the way we have been not programmed. I don't want to say programmed, but I personally suffer from having the feeling that I have to stay small. And even though in my mind I know that I want to do something bigger, there's something holding me back. And that's what I've been struggling with for the past 2 years. I mean, it's not a struggle, but that's something I've been dealing with, and that I've learned to, just understand a little bit better. And so that's gotten me very passionate about the idea of how can we overcome obstacles. And also, yeah, women's health in general. I quit the pill, a quick side story. I quit the pill 2 years ago for the third time. So the contraceptive pill, I tried to quit 3 times in total. And every single time I quit, I had like the worst acne coming back. And I, had experienced terrible side effects. I was super depressed. And it did, like, the first time I quit, I didn't have my period for a whole year. And I I was eating pretty, yeah. You want to say something?
No, I just think it's kind of mind blowing because I'm not a fan of pharmaceuticals. And
No,
I
me.
feel like for your body to have such an abstract effect
Mhm.
from stopping it, I don't think that it was the stopping that was the bad thing. I think it was
Oh,
the pill that corrupted your system.
yeah.
But continue, I'm curious. Like,
Yeah. As you say, I think yeah, I'm sure now that the pill corrupted the system. And the crazy thing is that every time I stopped, I would go to my gynecologist and to my dermatologist saying, this is not working for me. I don't have my periods. I have the worst acne ever, all over my face, all over my back and my shoulders. And I really struggled with, you know, yeah, struggled. My mental health was very low at the time. And all they were saying was, you should take the pill again. Like the gynecologist was saying, you are crazy. You can't stop the pill. You have to take it again. Otherwise, it will regulate your periods. And the dermatologist was saying, you have to take Accutane if you have acne, otherwise it will never go away. And I was convinced that there had to be another way. And I was like, if the pill masked maybe some symptoms for 10 years, because I took it very early on in my job, like in my life, I I need to fix that because the pill will only like hide the problem for a bit longer. And what happens if I want to have kids in 5 or 10 years, if I can't because I just took the pill for so long? So that's also why I'm super into women's health, because I feel like a lot of women are experiencing that, and we don't have a lot of support from doctors and pharmaceutical, as you say, because first the pill was invented so long ago, it's working, so they don't have any incentive to make something that works better. And yeah, I mean, I don't understand how doctors and stuff don't really try to find a solution for a woman. I think because so many women are just taking the pill and don't really say anything.
they don't realize how much it's affecting their emotional state.
Mhm.
My first girlfriend from high school, she was on the pill the whole time. And I've come to realize I don't think that she was as crazy as I thought back then. I think it was that pill just destroying her emotional balance.
Mhm.
So, what did you do to kind of come up with a solution to that? Because I see you don't have acne right now.
Oh.
You know,
Mhm. Yeah, so it was a very long journey. I quit the pill the first time at 21. I'm now 26. The first time I quit the pill for the first year, I tried nutrition, only nutrition, and I started working out. So I was eating super healthy, maybe in a way that was too healthy. I wasn't really allowing myself to have anything outside of what was supposed to be healthy. I even became vegan, and also because I had other. Um, I wanted to save the world, so I wanted to go vegan because I wanted to stop eating animals and stuff, and for the pollution and etc. So I became vegan, but my body didn't handle that at all. And it was super frustrating for me because I could see online how it was working amazing for some people. And it was like the best diet ever. And yet I wasn't handling it well. I was bloated constantly. It was making my acne worse, I think. So yeah, I think it was a bunch of factors that made the whole um, thing very, very difficult for me to handle. So I took the pill again after a year. I remember, so this is not to bash the vegan diet because I am 100% sure it has a lot of benefits and it works amazing for some people. But after a year of not having my period, when I ate my first chicken, I had a little bit of blood the day after. So it's a little bit of a proof that not there isn't one diet that will work for everyone. I don't know if it, yeah. Yeah, sorry.
no, You're okay. That's a beautiful point because we're all different. And I cannot stand when people say, this is my way and you have to do it my way. See, I'm in good shape and I've noticed great results from my specific nutrition that I'm doing currently. But does that mean I have the right to say, hey, this is the holy grail? If you're
Mhm.
not eating my diet, you're wrong. And that just irritates me when people think that they know it all. I
Mhm.
really love when someone can say, what I know is that there's so much that I don't know. And being humble, even though I'm sure you've come super far in your journey, it's like there's never a know it all point in time. You just have to be open to using trial and error. And I like this process that you went through of kind of listening to your body. You're the doctors are telling you this statement and they're giving you no other option, but you were curious and you tried other things. So what is the type of nutrition that is you feeling and not having acne right now?
So that was the first year, and then took the pill again because I was really feeling bad. And after a while, I felt ready to quit again. And I decided to be a little bit more flexible with my nutrition. I mean, I don't know if I have the best nutrition ever, but I'm just eating things that I know won't make me bloated. Um, I'm trying to have a salty breakfast to not spike up my cortisol level in the morning. But I also love having a good acai bowl. So then I have like, I don't know, I have a pretty balanced diet, I would say. And I've learned to accept the idea of not eating super like the best diet ever if I'm like on holiday with friends and I'm eating a little bit more fried food. That's okay. I because the first year I tried to fix myself through nutrition. I was being super strict. I wasn't allowing myself anything. I quit sugar. I quit dairy, gluten. I wasn't eating anything. I wasn't feeling well. I I just was super strict with everything, and now I'm more flexible, but I still don't really eat a lot of gluten. I do love dairy. I don't eat a lot of sugar, but I still do sometimes. So I'd say that's my diet.
it, it's important to have a balance that allows for longevity. And I
Mhm.
think what you went through is something I can relate to. It's just burning out when you're doing something so meticulously strict and you give yourself no wavering room to reward yourself. It's not a recipe for a consistent whatever you're doing, like in the gym or nutrition or relationships. There needs to be a little bit of looseness to these things.
Mhm.
And that's why I like to view. So if you have fried food, sure, we know it's not the best, but have you earned it? If you're in good shape and most of the time you're eating, a big thing for me is natural foods. So
Yeah.
I like this simple thing. If I cannot pronounce the ingredients, it shouldn't go in my body, you know? And if my grandparents didn't know what it was 50 years ago, why should I eat it now? Like, I don't even know, Captain Crunch or I can't even go with examples, Pop Tarts and just
Oh,
things that are not
yeah, processed
natural,
food, that's processed.
but things like dairy and I'm a big fan of animal treating animals humanely, but at the same time I do consume animals and I at least go locally sourced for the eggs, and we're about to invest in an extra freezer so we could go locally sourced for the cows to make sure that it's a grass-fed cow, that it was not raised in, a cubicle with no room. It, it's like
for a cow to be happy, I think it needs a green grass pasture and it needs a few friends. Like that's all a cow needs to have an enjoyable life. But on the other side, if it's cramped in a terrible factory with no sunlight and just fed corn and soy rather than natural grass, you see, I'm kind of spiritual, but you feel these things. If you
Yeah.
eat an animal that lived a miserable life, you feel that.
I'm
And
disgusted with by most eggs. I don't know. I have like a problem. So I've been eating organic most of my life, and I'm always eating. I'm trying to eat organic 90% of the time, and every time I go in another country and I have to eat eggs, I don't know. I don't know why, but I have like a yeah. I'm struggling with eggs that aren't organic and yeah, grass and that live in like that can run and stuff. I don't know.
no, I think you're onto something because you're probably feeling that they live the miserable life. They are so slick with their advertising. They say cage free,
Yeah.
yet yeah, they're cage free, but they're in a small factory with no room to run, like you said. You feel that, and it's upsetting that our governments allow this type of
Mhm.
miserable farming. Like, I don't think veganism is the way, but I also don't think eating factory farmed animals is the way. There's It's like everything in life, there's kind of a fine balance.
Yeah.
If you waver too much to one extreme, it's not the way.
No, definitely. Yeah, I feel like there is some kind of balance to be found, and I also don't think we should eat as much meat as most people do right now. I do think I personally, I think it depends also from where you come from. I think people from the very north, maybe their ancestors have been eating a lot of animal proteins for most of the time because they don't have it's too cold, so they can't really you know garden vegetables and stuff. And I think it depends on what your ancestors have been eating as well. So yeah, I think there are a lot of factors that can play a role here, and I think we all have to find a balance, but I don't think we have to eat meat morning, noon and night. Like my dad, he eats meat for every single meal.
That's funny. It goes back to what we mentioned, just kind of figuring out what works for you. And it is a tough thing because I'm trying to build a lot of muscle, and I know that protein is the key factor to that. But at the same time, so important is things like fruits and dairy. Like I do agree with the point, you don't need meat at every meal. There needs to be a little bit of um your body wants a bunch of different foods. It doesn't just want a consistent thing. So if I am eating, I do have 2 meals a day, and I try to make sure I get a certain amount of protein in each meal, but I'm never eating the same thing. Like maybe it's eggs, maybe it's chicken, or maybe it's beef, but I'm not. And it's a hard thing because I don't think someone like you would be sensible to eat the same diet as me, because I'm trying to build a bunch of muscle, and I'm sure that you're not trying to become a bodybuilder yourself.
No, definitely not. But I also think that, as you say, we wouldn't benefit from the same diet. Also, again, to talk about women's hormones and stuff, I feel like a male can afford to do intermittent fasting, and most women won't thrive on the diet. I know some women who do. They thrive on intermittent fasting, and eating only 2 meals a day, for example. But I know most women won't. So it's super interesting, important to um, yeah, be conscious of that and make sure that you find a diet that works for you, and it's not because someone else is thriving on said diet that it will work for you as well.
Right. It's important to kind of figure out what works for me and how do we do that? I mean, by being open and aware of what your body's telling you. What are some of the methods that you use to enhance your self-awareness?
Good question. I would say, because I'm thinking when I quit the pill, I would say I'm not eating. I still struggle with bloating and stuff. So I know I could be eating better, but I also try to have a balance between feeding my body and feeding my mind. And sometimes I just want to have something that I know will bloat me, but I'm just enjoying the moment with friends. And so that's worth it. So that's one way of finding balance there and listening to my needs. And other times when I'm just on my own, I'm going to make very simple meals and seeing how I react. Yeah, I would say like when I'm on my own, it's definitely easier to track everything and to not be bloated. And every time I go out or I do something with other people, I kind of know that I will experience some discomfort.
So what food specifically caused that feeling for you?
I'd say like legumes. I don't really digest them very well. Um, Peppers for some reason, and everything. Yeah, I think that those are the main food that I don't. I mean, I digest very well animal proteins. That's why I don't really want to stop eating that.
Animal proteins don't digest well for you?
Yeah, I do digest them very well. So
Oh, see, and that's one of those things. It's like, well, do I listen to my body or do I listen to society? And I don't think that they're pushing the veganism for no reason. I truly feel like we do need that animal protein. It's just about making sure that it was created and farmed in a humane, sustainable manner rather than the destructive factory farming. But that's funny you mentioned the legumes because that's something I don't eat just based off of the information I've learned. They're more of a survival food. And I'm not a nutritional scientist. I do not have a 8-year master's degree in this, but just from what I've learned in the trial and error, there's certain things that your body digests smoothly and well, and then there's other things that your body kind of just says like, what the fuck is this? What is this?
Yeah, that's why I think that's why when I went vegan for almost a year, my body didn't handle that well, just because I was eating too many foods that I couldn't digest, and it really irritated my gut lining. It just messed up with my whole body, I feel like. Even though I wish it had worked, honestly, but yeah.
Right, because the morals of it is I love animals. I am like,
That's the thing.
I won't kill a spider anymore. I used to kill animals. And now anything and everything, I try to make sure it lives. Like there was a moth in my bathroom today and I got it outside of the window. And it's like, I love animals, but at the same time, if I fed my body nothing but plants and vegetables, I wouldn't have the energy to have the impact on real humans that I'm looking to have. And it's kind of crazy how much the nutrition, the mindset, and your overall well-being is intertwined. If going back to if you don't feel good, you're not going to have the energy to create things and be someone who inspires other people.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's why I decided to to stop being vegan at the end, because I did that in the first place because I wanted to not save the world, but I had like very good intentions. I wanted to lower my carbon footprint. I wanted to save animals and stuff. But then it made me so miserable that I was like, if I can't really help myself and I can't be in a good place, how will I be able to help others? I'm trying to save the world, but I can't even save myself. So I was like, I need to take care of myself first. And hopefully, I mean, I'm sure it will end up having an impact on other people. So that was a big lesson there as well.
What was coming to that realization like? Because what society wants you to think is you're saving the world, but then you're like, but I feel horrible. So what do I choose? What was that like coming to that realization?
Yeah, it's actually it's a good question and something I haven't really talked. I remember that period very well, and I remember the feeling I had at that period, but I never thought about it again. And I remember feeling so ashamed actually because I said to all of my friends that I was going to go vegan. I didn't mention it, but at the time I also went back to university to study marine biology because I wanted to be a scientist. And so that was my first year. I was 23. I already had a degree, but yeah. So I had a lot of things going on at the time. I tried to be I think it was the first time in my life where I tried to do something good. So the marine biology thing, being vegan, quitting the pill, I was trying to eat super healthy and stuff. And the fact that it didn't work out for me at the end, because I also quit the degree, I felt very ashamed for a while. And then I talked about it to my friends and family, and I was like, I can't do it anymore. I'm like miserable. It's not making me happy. And in the end, you just realize that people are super understanding. And I've I've had a lot of moments in my life where I was just so lost on what the next step was and what am I trying to do here? And that's something I've kind of always been ashamed of because I wish I had that super clear path in front of me and that I knew exactly where I was going to and that everything was super clear. And when I see my friends, I'm like, oh, lucky you know exactly where you want to go. But at the same time, it's also a beautiful journey because you keep learning and learning, and you just I've come to accept that I'm still figuring things out. And so yeah, that was a big lesson there, that it's okay to quit something if it doesn't work for you, even though you wanted to do something good, and you'll have other opportunities to do good, and you are super important. And if you aren't good, if you aren't feeling good, then you won't be able to do anything to help anyone else.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone with what you've just explained. I truly, there's no way that that is something that only me and you have felt, because everything you just explained just hits. It's like hitting the nail on the head of my past couple years. When you're doing something that is kind of listening to your intuition, and for me, it's like I wanted to create something. I wanted to have the freedom over my own time. That's really the quickest way to sum it up. And when you aim to be your own boss, the windy path that we go through, it's that way for a reason. Because once you accomplish that goal, that vision, you start to realize, or even before you accomplish it, but just a little bit further down the journey, you realize that all of those moments were necessary for you to understand what it's all about. And the pathway to success, I don't think for anyone is really just a straight diagonal from the left to the top right. And anyone who says that is full of shit. I'm not a fan of gurus who make amazing things seem easy. I'm really drawn to people who are authentic about the personal experiences that they've gone through and how at times you feel hopeless. But that kind of brings me to the importance of our mindset and kind of the inner work that you do to, it's, if you're focusing on a negative vision and telling yourself all the reasons why you won't accomplish it, that's a choice. And on the other side of that choice is actually asking the empowering questions. How am I going to do this? Okay, what step is next? I love the quote. It's like 1,000-mile journey starts with one step, one step.
Mhm.
And from there, you kind of figure out slowly, just have kind of a clarity of what you want in the big picture, while understanding that the pathway you're taking to that big picture vision is full of bumps, it's full of mistakes, but they're learning lessons.
Yeah, definitely. And you have to try things, and if you don't try, you might never know if it was the right or the wrong thing to do. I mean, there aren't really a right or wrong thing to do. I feel like everything that every decision that we make will lead to a lesson, whether that's a good lesson or a not so good lesson. It will like make us go further into the journey, and it will guide us through to our path even further. So I feel like, yeah, we just have to take action one step at a time, as you say. And it's something I've struggled with, and still struggle with at some like sometimes. It's the idea of not seeing too big, not seeing the end of the top of the tip of the mountain, and understanding that we have to take the first step, and then the next step, and then the next step. And we don't have to um, it's good to have a vision and a clear vision to where we want to head and where we want to go, but it might not happen it will probably never happen as we imagine it that it will happen. So it's super important to be open to any possibilities. And I'm trying not to make claims here, but I love to be controlling, and that's something I'm working on, because I always want to know what's the next step, and I need to know in advance, because otherwise I can get anxious. And I know it's so important to just be okay with being open to anything. And there's a book I read, you might have read it too. It's called what's the name again? It's called oh shit, I forgot the name. I forgot. It will come back. the The Surrender Experiment. Have you read it?
No.
By Michael something. It's an amazing book. It's a guy who I don't know if you want me to. I'm actually like talking about that, but it's a guy who started, and he was just like, leave me alone. I just want to spend my time meditating on my own, and I don't want to like do anything else. I want to focus on my thoughts, and I just want to make them go away. And so he was super controlling about that. He was really, I just want to be on my own. Yeah, leave me alone. And it's so crazy because he had that way of surrendering to what was happening, and he wasn't listening to his mind and his thoughts. So his thought would tell him, don't let those people enter into your life, because you need to stay on your own, because you don't want to be distracted from meditating. But he knew it was his thoughts. So he let everything happen as it was meant to happen. And so in the story, you have people entering his life. And I don't know, it's so crazy because his path is just unfolding itself. And this guy is going from being a loner and meditating on his own to building $1 million business, tech business in the medicine, something, I don't remember exactly what it was, $1 billion business, which is crazy because it wasn't his intention in the beginning. And I find his story so amazing.
Well, I think the message behind that is really beautiful. It's to allow the universe, the creator, the source, whatever religion you believe in, it's all the same. There's one thing that created everything, and we want to control what it is doing, and that's not our job. What can we control? What we do, what we say, what we feel, and what we think. That's all. Those four things. And if you optimize those categories of your life and then leave the rest up to the universe, it's not easy. I struggle with this. Is sometimes you just want it now. You want all your goals and dreams to happen quickly. And then you take a step back and it's like, well, did I do my best today? Did I put in effort today? I like the idea that progress is not always physically measurable. Sometimes you just have to say, did I put effort in today? And that's a good job. And how did you become or fall into the growth mindset? Because I had a fixed mindset for a long time, and the growth mindset, adopting it is probably the best thing any human can do.
Oh, that's so powerful. I think when I started learning English, I had a very fixed mindset in the beginning. I always believed like I'm not good at languages because I failed all of my studies. I was never the language girl. And when I started learning English, I decided at some point that I was gonna listen to books because I was like, I don't really understand what people are saying. So I'm gonna practice my listening skills. And I started listening to audiobooks. It was very early on in my English learning journey. And the first book I listened to was a fiction book. And then I stumbled upon this book, which is called Mindset by Carol Dweck, Dr. Carol Dweck. And it blew my mind. And I think that's honestly the book that opened my mind to having a growth mindset. I just realized that if we we aren't this or that, we are what we allow ourselves to be. And if I want to become good in English, then I can just do a little bit every day and I will become eventually, if I put the effort daily, something will happen. Like, it's not possible that I stay in the same place. And yes, of course, certain people have it's easier for other people, for some people than it is for other people. Learning speaking languages isn't the first thing I'm good at, but I've learned to accept that and still go on the journey and try to learn the language. And in 4 years, only 4 years, without taking any class, I think I took like maybe a 2 or 3 weeks class, English lessons, and I am speaking better than most of my friends. My writing is much better than my speaking, but still, I mean, I'm super impressed by the progress.
That is impressive. So what else did you do besides listening to audiobooks? Because I would love to learn another language and I am not going to go and take classes for it. But if there's another way that I could learn, I think that's a amazing skill to have.
Yeah,
So your first
yes.
language is Belgium?
Yeah, it's French.
Oh, je m'appelle Justin, comment ça va?
Oh, nice. Ça va bien, et toi?
I took French in high school, and
Yeah, I feel like a lot of Americans take French in high school.
And I barely know anything, but I know how to say my name, how to count to 15. And isn't ice cream la glace?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so okay. I interrupted the question. Well, do you remember the question?
The question was, what else did I do to learn English? I mean, to learn a language or a new skill, I would say in general. But to learn English, I am very bad with the whole education system. I dropped out of school. I was always very bad at English and stuff. So I'm not the kind of person that will thrive in an environment where I have someone teaching me something and I have to sit for 8 hours straight and listen, and somehow magically the knowledge will come onto me. Like, I need to practice. I need to to do things. And for me, learning English started with, actually, I was very blessed and lucky that my parents had the means to send me away for a few months. So I went and do some volunteering So that was the first thing I did with English people, and I did some volunteering for 5 months. And I remember calling my moms after a month saying, I don't understand a thing of what they are doing. I'm just here sitting around with people talking, and every time someone says a joke, I feel like I don't understand it, but I feel like I have to laugh because everyone else is laughing. So I'm just like, ah. So that was a fun experience. And at the end of the 5 months, I could understand a little bit. I could say some words and stuff, but honestly, the progress was very slow. It was very frustrating, but I knew I already saw some progress. But as you say, we sometimes want to get to the end point, and at the time I didn't see the beauty in the journey. So I was like, I need to be fluent in English. I don't want to go through the whole learning process, and I don't want to be bad at it. But I had to accept that I was going to be bad at it before I could become good, or at least average at it. And so that was the first step, immersing myself in an environment. I got uncomfortable a lot. So I was speaking in English, even though I couldn't speak English, and I could see that people were understanding what I was saying. I don't know, I had a lot of embarrassing moments, but I'm sure this helps as well to, just go one step further in the journey and getting closer to the goal. I listened to a lot of audiobooks because I could see that my listening skills weren't, like, I wasn't understanding what people were saying. And after a while, I realized that I was understanding people better, but I couldn't write properly. So I started reading, and that's helped a lot. And I feel like now the only missing piece to my English is really speaking practice. So that's the next step. I need to go on my own again and travel and speak English most of the time. And I'm sure the progress will be, I feel like this is the missing piece.
Yeah, I don't think that you're wrong. You kind of get these intuitive or gut feelings, and I bet you're absolutely correct with that. So if I wanted to learn another language, the first step would be kind of immersing myself in a whole, like, kind of traveling somewhere new.
You don't have to travel if you don't want to, or if you don't have the means to do it. You could immerse yourself without the whole expensive travel thing. You could just start watching YouTube videos in French, start reading in French, start listening to audiobooks in French, start, reading in French as well. There are many things that you can do to really immerse yourself in that environment without the need to be in Paris, for example. Is it still working? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the main point is immersing yourself and just do it daily, and you won't see progress at first. And I remember when I started reading in English or listening in English, I couldn't understand a word, and that's completely normal. Like, I remember I read the thing and I was like, I don't understand it. And so I had the humility. I don't know how to say it other than that, but I just took a very easy book. I started with very easy books, and even though I wanted to read self-help books, but I didn't have the knowledge I didn't have the level to read those kind of books. So I started with something easier and slowly increased the difficulty from there.
And I think a big part of doing anything is having a good reasoning behind what you're doing. So what was your driver to learn English?
Oh, I knew. So I felt stuck in Belgium. I couldn't speak English. I could only speak French, and I could speak a little bit of Dutch, because in Belgium we are supposed to speak both languages. So I've been learning Dutch since I was very young, so I could speak it a little bit. But I knew I wanted to work globally. I wanted to have a lot of opportunities, and English is definitely a language that allows that. And it wasn't, I don't know if you've read the book Unfair Advantages, but it's something that says that we all are wired in a way, or through our education, or where we come from and who we are surrounded by, will shape us. And from that we can take, I don't know, things that we can use as our advantages in life, whether that's in business or, I don't know, relationships and anything. And I didn't have that English advantage because I wanted to work globally and I wanted to meet new people and to be able to travel easily. But I had that missing piece. So that was really the main driver, I would say. I wanted to have, and same as you, I wanted to be able to experience the freedom of working from anywhere. And I know it's possible to do it in French as well, but I love challenges. And I also love, yeah, I don't know, I became obsessed with English for some reason.
Well, I think that's a good point that you love challenges. I feel like humans are meant to be challenged. And the moment that you don't have something meaningful that you're working towards, life becomes dull,
Mhm.
mind gets corrupted. And I think that's why some people do not get their instant gratification of their journey, because if you got what you wanted quickly, your future might turn out to be just not ideal. And I know for a fact that's what is going on with me, because a few years ago, all I wanted was money to be rich quick.
Oh,
So,
damn, that's so funny.
and I like now I realize that money is a tool. It helps you so much in life,
Mhm.
but money alone is not going to bring you happiness.
Yeah.
You need a bigger purpose. You need to be helping people, to be helping yourself, to have connection, real connection. Like this conversation, it's what humans are meant to do,
Mhm.
to deeply connect. And it's kind of lost in today's age. And I think that's why so many people happen to be depressed. I can't stand that saying, because it's a choice to be depressed. It's your thoughts, the way that you are continuously cycling negative thought patterns without having any awareness of what's going on. And that's why I'm so drawn to the state of mind, because I realize, oh, wow, even though I'm not rich, I'm so much happier than I could have ever imagined. It's
Mhm.
it's mind blowing what you're capable of when you really choose to go on a path of self development.
Definitely. And I feel that's something I resonate with, the idea of, so I was the same 2 years ago. I was like, I want to be rich quick, basically. And you see, you see all of those claims online that you can be rich quick, even though I don't believe in that anymore. But I did believe in that when I first got into online businesses. And I feel like I didn't manage to get rich. And I feel like part of the reason why is because that was my only goal. And that was distracting me from finding fulfillment inside. And so I wasn't happy with where I was. And I was putting that unhappiness on the idea, like I was making it money's fault. Like it's because of money that I'm not happy. And I kept having roadblocks in my journey because I think that deep down, I knew that if I was finally making the money, I'd finally realize that I wasn't any happier. And so I had to sabotage myself because that would give me an excuse to keep working towards something and have something to think about, if that makes sense. And I finally, at some point, I was like, that's not what I need to be working on. I need to be working on myself and making myself happier. And when that will happen, everything else will follow. I know everything else will unfold once I will have found, and I'm still working on that. And I have done so much progress on that. But I feel like everything will take place and happen as it should once I'm happy with where I'm at and I'm content and, yeah, satisfied with the situation I'm at right now.
And that's the idea of enjoying the journey.
Mhm.
Like we just come to understand we're not going to force things to happen at a certain time. And that's the importance of recognizing progress and actually admiring yourself for taking or embarking upon the journey of self improvement. And good things take time. I love that quote because it's like you do the intraday small things and you focus on just one little thing, building that at a time, and eventually the whole wall is built. It's you have to really embody patience, and to embody patience there needs to be something meaningful behind what you're doing. And I don't think there's anything more meaningful than your own fulfillment and personal ability to enjoy the day.
Mhm.
Like I used to be the person who I spent so much time with my friends in high school that I never wanted to be alone. If I
Mhm.
wasn't with my friends, I was with my girlfriend. If I wasn't with her, I was with my friends. And oh my gosh, it was hard to be alone for the beginning periods. And now I know I've made such progress because I like being alone now. And it's kind of shocking, like to even say that.
How did that happen? Then what made you, I don't know, like invest into mental health, like invest into wanting to learn how to be alone?
Well, I think we mentioned this earlier, how one action transfers into something else.
Mhm.
So with my get rich quick idea, I spent so much time in the stock market, and I still do the stock market in the mornings. But then from the stock market, I learned, holy shit, there's a lot of psychology behind this. And from psychology of the stock market transferred into mental health, recognizing or understanding how my breaths can be channeled to calm myself down. And from there, I started reading books about the market, but then that slowly transferred into deeper self development books, books about the atrocities of the world, kind of understanding how bad things can get can help you put into context. Okay, I have walls, I have technology, I have a shower that I can change the temperature on, I have a warm bed. Why the fuck am I miserable? Why am I complaining? And then I realized, oh, wow, like, and then it just kind of compounded. And now I am very conscious about how I'm using my time. That's
Mhm.
kind of it's hard to sum it all up because it's such a long journey, but I
Sure.
think that's the root to how this all escalated.
I feel like it's something, it's often like one thing that will lead to digging deeper into that. So for us, it was our entrepreneurial journey and trying to accomplish something and realizing that it wasn't really making us happier and that probably would just need to look into ourselves. For other people, it might be, I don't know, like something terrible or, and I feel like it's often that one event that will, start the journey into self-discovery and, yeah, mindfulness and all of that.
It's like the shell begins to crack, and then you
Mhm.
kind of see all of the possibilities that spread from it. But this conversation's been so enjoyable, and I'm 100% sure that people will have learned from this. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. And if you want to direct any of the listeners anywhere, where should we direct them?
So I read on Twitter, and my Twitter is Twitter slash, is it slash.com slash?
I'll link everything in the
Yeah,
description.
perfect. And yeah, that's mostly it. I am writing on Medium as well, but after I post my articles on Twitter as well. So you'll find everything there.
Well, thank you so much. I had a blast, and I hope you have a good rest of your day, Emily.
Thank you so much, Justin.